ASICS Novablast 5 came out a few weeks ago, and shockingly, nobody on YouTube has reviewed it. So I'm going to be the first one to do it. You're welcome. This is not my first Novablast. I did not have the one and the two, but I do have the three. This was the first Novablast I ever had, and as you can see, I really put the miles on it. A little over 460. Um, I also have the Novablast 4, which again, I think I put about 460 miles on this, plus walked all over Italy for 2 weeks, and these performed beautifully. And now I have the 5, and I think I'm going to start with sort of the TLDR, or too long didn't watch. And if you watch anything in this video, let it be the beginning here. The 5 is light years better than the 4 and more reminiscent of the 3, which I really liked. I wasn't as a big of a fan about the 4. That FF Blast Eco foam to me just felt dead. Just felt like a brick. Felt like a big slab of foam with that didn't really give anything back. And I know that technically this is a running shoe with a big slab of foam underneath it, but yeah, I thought the 3 was really poppy, really fun, exciting, bouncy, all the great adjectives that you can use about a running shoe. The 4 was just boring. I didn't really get much out of it, and I'm a midfoot striker. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't think so, because I feel like a lot of people are midfoot strikers. Could just be my mechanics and my height and weight, which I'm 6'5", 170, so uh, tall but not heavy. Um, but yeah, the 5 is just so much more fun, and that the FF Blast Max foam is really springy, really bouncy, really soft. Just even when you mash on it, it's a lot softer than the 4 was. And so for me, I much prefer the 5 to the 4, and it feels a lot more like the 3. Um, so I mean, I think the too long didn't watch. To go back to that, is the 5 is the way to go. If you're on the fence about, if you liked the 3 and you were wary of the 4, I think you're going to want to give the 5 a shot. I think the one thing is the outsole, and at this point, knowing that they know how to make a good outsole, because I have the Super Blast 2, and that has a fantastic outsole with zero grip issues. I think they are intentionally withholding something. Back from the Nova Blast 5 and from the 4 and the 3, I had the same issue with all of them. It's just not a great outsole in the wet. If it's dry, no problem. You have all the grip you need. One of my first few runs in this, I have a little over 40 miles on this. One of my first few runs in this was an 8.5 miler outside. And it was in the morning, so it was a little slick. It had rained the night before, and these were just not great. I mean, uh, they just did not bite on mostly pavement. I was just running on trails here in my neighborhood. Um, and it was especially bad with like the painted crosswalk for crossing the street. If you step or ran on that paint, it was like ice, and it was really bad. So I don't know what ASICS is doing. They claim to have improved the outsole with this. I did not find that to be the case. Um, could just be me, but I feel like some of the other reviewers on YouTube have said the same thing, so it's probably not just me. Um, so what else? If you liked the 3, you're gonna love the 5. I think it's a lot more of the same sensation of springy, bouncy. You can do everything in this shoe. It's a great everyday shoe, especially at the price point, $140. If you can just afford or just want one shoe, this is it, I think. I used to run in a Nike Pegasus before I picked up the 3, and I mean, I know, kudos to Nike for having 41 years of the Pegasus, and obviously it's one of their best sellers, and a lot of people swear by it. It's a great shoe for what it is, but for me, it was just super boring. And the ASICS Nova Blast was a lot more exciting than the Pegasus was. And I haven't looked back, obviously. So now I have 3, 4, and 5. So clearly a fan of the Nova Blast. How I'm using it, not as a daily trainer. I'm going to use this as a gym shoe. I lift 3 times a week and I run a 2 mile warm up. And so that's the shoe that I use to do that. And then my long run and um, more of my daily trainer, I guess you could say, is the ASICS Blast 2, which is just better than this, as you can imagine. Obviously, it costs a lot more, has the premium race foam, a little bit more stack height, tad lighter. And yeah, for me, as a shoe geek and as somebody who loves the technology and loves being propelled forward by a $200 shoe, the Super Blast 2 certainly fits the bill. But I have done a lot in the Nova Blast 5. I mentioned the 8.5 mile run outdoors, a couple 2 milers here and there. I did do a speed session earlier this week, which was about 8 miles total, and probably about an hour plus. I'd have to go back and look. I did a 2 mile warm up at about an 8 minute pace, which is sort of my like steady, slow, like zone two, whatever the zones are. And then I was doing 1 minute on, 1 minute off sprint intervals at a pretty good clip. And I think the last few that I did were as fast as the treadmill would go, which was 12 miles an hour. It's a 5 minute mile pace. That's pretty fast. And yeah, I mean, this shoe could certainly do it. I know other shoe tubers who review, thousands of dollars a shoe, thousands of dollars a shoe a year will kind of poo-poo this and say, oh, it's not a great shoe for going faster. I mean, yeah, it's a daily trainer for $140. For your average runner, this will be just fine. If you want to have a plated trainer to do speed sessions in, of course, then something is going to be better. But this is a jack of all trades, master of none. Although I would say it's a master at being something for everyone. And then this morning I did a 10 mile run in this on the treadmill, about an 8 minute pace, 80 minutes, and it performed great. I mean, had plenty of comfort. Would I have preferred the Super Blast 2? Absolutely, just because you get a little bit more from that shoe, a little more foot protection. Although on a treadmill, it's not as big of a deal because you get some inherent um, shock absorption. But the Super Blast 2 is just a more fun shoe. Again, I'm 6'5", 170. Um, maybe lighter people that are lighter than me aren't going to get as much from the Super Blast 2 just because they can't really take advantage of the midsole. But for me, it's definitely a better shoe. It's a little firmer than the Nova Blast 5. I can do a separate comparison video about that. But yeah, let me land the plane here. The Nova Blast 5 is the best Nova Blast that I've tried. Loved the 3, did not care for the 4. It was just really boring to me. And the 5 is back to where I wanted the 4 to go and where it wasn't, but I'm glad that Nova Blast that I'm sorry that ASICS has gone back to a more lively, bouncy, fun feel. Um, just as a disclosure, I paid my own money for this, although I do want to caveat that I have a family friend who was able to take advantage of one of ASIC's discount programs and has passed on those savings to me. So I did not pay full retail price for this shoe. Um, I guess you could say that that's probably biasing the way I feel about it. But even for somebody paying full retail, $140, like I said, this is a jack of all trades, fantastic daily trainer. Um, I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't like this shoe. Um, so yeah, if you're thinking about getting it, I would definitely recommend it. Finally got a compliment on this teal colorway this morning, and that felt great. That alone was worth the price. So. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And this is my first shoe review, so it's going to be really crappy, and I can only get better from here. So stick along.